Welcome to what it will be today, and Ed will probably explain what it's going to be. My name is Andrew Robinson. I'm your host here. I'm a director at CCLA. These are our new offices. We moved in, we refurbished, this was an empty floor plate, and then the landlord told us just before Christmas that they were going to refurbish the foyer and the reception area, so I'm sorry you had an interesting time to get in here, but you're all here now. Thrilled to bits to be a part of this event. CCLA is one of the partners in the Community Investment Coalition, and there's some people here I haven't seen for a very, very long time, and one of those is our chairman for the day, Ed Mayo, and Mr. Pinsky, welcome. If he's walking, how many hours are you out at the moment? Is it 6 or 8?
Right on time.
Right on time, okay, great. So I just wanted to welcome you. For those of you that don't know CCLA, we have been around for about 50 years, and we were set up to do a particular thing. And the innovation 50 years ago was to pool the assets of charities, churches, and local authorities, and CCLA therefore comes out of that background. And in those days, the financial sector really wasn't interested in any of those markets because it was all very small, very disaggregated, deeply unprofitable. And the idea would be, could we somehow create a collaboration where through that pooling there could be some efficiencies and those three sectors could get what they needed. And today we have 40,000 charities as clients. We manage about 4.5 billion pounds of their money. The LA bit withered away because a long time ago 486 local authorities each managed their pensions separately and therefore were deeply uninteresting to the financial services sector. In the 1970s there was a Local Government Act which meant that they could pool and merge, and suddenly that became a very lucrative sector, and so our job began to not be so necessary until the Icelandic situation, when the LGA came to us and said, could you go back to what you did to us before and establish a very safe place, AAA rated money market fund that is domestic. Of the 22 money market funds that local authorities use in Britain, all of them are offshore. Ours is here, and I think the LGA just got fed up having to fly back and forth to Iceland to try and recover their money. So we set that up last year, and now we have about 150 local authorities as clients, and the fund is now about 200 million pounds, but there are billions out there, and it's just a very interesting business. We have no external shareholders. At CCA, we're owned by our clients, so we are, interestingly, in terms of the world, probably the only fund manager that is a social enterprise. So that's who we are, and if you want to know more about that, feel free to have a chat with me through the day or send me an email afterwards. But just to introduce Ed, I think a long time ago, Mark, who's come over for many years to help with the development of the CDFI sector, one of Mark's great speeches, he quoted Peter Hoag, who wrote Miss Smilla's Feeling for Snow. And there's a fabulous quote in the book that Mark used, and I'd just like to sort of kick off with a bit of it. It's quite edgy, really. He writes, I never cease to be amazed by the shameless melancholy by which people simply just accept the enormous gap between their common sense and what they actually do. And I think through the day today, we have this very efficient banking system on the one hand, and yet we have some fantastic, I've seen the list of who's here today, initiatives trying to get credit, finance, and other services into places where that amazingly efficient banking system that we have can't get it. And you'd think there'd be an enormous complementarity between these two groups, if you like. And it's bloody hard work to try and make them work together. So that's the one thing I just wanted to bring up at the beginning. The other is from another talk that was given, again at a CDFA conference. And the person who was speaking said, it is only by the very transformations that we effect on the structures and practices which maintain our own affluent comfort that any transformation of the conditions of all will be affected. And we won't be able to make those changes unless we have the capacity to see what is not yet, but what could be. And I know that there's lots of dreamers and practitioners in the room, and I know there's lots of power in the room, and I just hope by the end of today we have maybe closed that enormous gap.
Now, we've got some work to do today, and I'd just like to set some of the ground rules about how we're going to do this, because today is above all about taking responsibility. It's taking responsibility for closing the gap that Andrew had talked about. We've all been around, I think, enough to see both the inspirational examples of community investment that are out there in all of our sheer diversity, credit unions, CDFIs, enterprise lenders, partnerships with banks, and others. We have all been around long enough since the credit crunch to see a kind of a healthy critique and debate around the role and future of banking. But today is a challenge to move beyond that, focusing on the idea of community investment as a way of knitting together all of that practice, and focusing on the idea of a coalition, which is the sense that actually only by working together will we move this forward. And working together, I think, means working together in that practical bent. It means that you're welcome to rant today, but actually we've had plenty of places for ranting as well. I think we have to accept the truth of the rants, but also in some sense move on. Today is about, as Ben Hughes said to me from CDFA, second partner in the coalition, today is about big thinking and small practice. And I think my challenge would be that it's not about wildly utopian thinking and manic and minuscule practice. Actually, we need an applied vision for how we are going to meet needs through community investment over the coming years. And we need business-like and entrepreneurial skills to work out how we scale up from the inspirational but fragile practice that we have. I think those who work in CDFIs, just opposite Naomi, but I'm not thinking only of you, but it's a bit like walking a tightrope, actually. And you walk that tightrope day in, day out, month in, month out. Often it's feast to famine in terms of getting money in to lend, and then having people that are kind of biting your arm off to be able to use that for urgent and productive needs. Trying to kind of deal with the investment readiness of people's capability to use that finance. And you can forget that you are walking a tightrope, and it's only sometimes when you look back to see what you've been achieved and the risks along the way that you will have that. So I hope that gives you a sense that this is about positive, ambitious thinking. It is about developing a new coalition, and we're going to be very well served. The agenda today is designed to create an event which can be a deliberative event. Now, anybody who's been involved in the field of participation will know that deliberative events only happen with round tables. So maybe when you walked into the room, you got a sense of how today might work. But like the best deliberative events as well, we're going to have a combination of input and then deliberation, a combination of expert prepared work that is going to be injected into the room, and then working in groups and exchange over the course of the day. So the first session is an input from three distinguished speakers, Tony and Lydia from NEF and Nick from GHK, and I'll do a brief introduction in a minute, because you'll kind of see these are remarkably impressive, and I'll keep them shorter than you can Google. We will then move on to a session which is essentially working in tables, building a sense of what we have heard, Again in the afternoon, then we come in for a further round of inputs before again, with some on a panel to help input and moderate, move to a closing session as well then after lunch in terms of where we go from here. So that's the intention for the day.